Hey, I think this worked.
There we go.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Apologies for that. We had a minor technical glitch. That's the first time that's happened. Uh, but hey, there's a first time for everything, right? Welcome to Nadex Morning Analysis, where we're going to look at a couple of hot spots in the markets today. My name is Todd Rich. I'm with Nadex. With me from Keep Trading Simple is Brian Caprice. Again, apologies for that we're a minute or so late. Um, Sometimes stuff happens. Before Brian and I jump into it, I do need to share this disclaimer that trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for everyone. That any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. And this is an educational session. Please do not construe anything Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation. We are doing this for your education purposes. So, what are we going to talk about today? It's a very quiet day in the markets. Not a lot moving around, but again, we want to try to pick the spots where there might be opportunity and get you to focus on those opportunities. So, the couple of things we're definitely going to talk about today. Crude oil is on the move. We have to go back. I've got the chart from yesterday up right now. You can see it's actually holding that upward channel. Brian's going to be talking about supply and demand levels as well. So when you kind of put them together, might give you a little help. We'll take a look at some opportunities there. Probably take a quick peek at gold. And one of the currencies that is moving, and then there's an opportunity later on today, this evening, we're going to do a little analysis on what's going on over in Australia. I think we'll look at the Aussie yen probably and look at some potential trade setups for that. And with crude oil, it's not just for today, but we've also got. I mean, later today there's the API inventory report, but more importantly, tomorrow is the EIA oil stocks, the oil inventory report. So we're likely to see some volatility in oil today and tomorrow. Just based around some of those numbers. So it's just kind of good to do some analysis. So, Brian, let's flip it over to you and let's take a look at oil first.
Yeah, so I mean, just kind of giving an overview so everybody understands where we're at. Basically, the markets are, I would say, rather flat right now. We're kind of in that lull right now as far as news today. Typically, Wednesday's a big day, but this week it's actually Thursday because of the Monday holiday. Right now, I mean, in currency realm, basically everything is reversing from what we saw, and this has been a trend that has been very common the last, I don't know, several months. The first 2 days of the week, we really saw the European strength coming in, and we saw pound weakness. And now that has completely flipped over. Now we're seeing the European weakness. We are seeing pound strength come back in. We had dollar weakness coming in strong, but now we have dollar strength coming back into the markets. And then, like the Aussie is kind of flat right now off of its news last night. You can see it's retracing back up again. So really today, there's only going to be headlines. There's not even really anything on a kind of low impact news release. I will say there is Australian retail sales numbers, and again, the month numbers tend to be big. This number last night for Australia, actually, the GDP numbers came in better than expected, but it didn't give us a really, really big push. And again, a quarterly number, they expected it. It was supposed to be lower than it was previously. So again, it was a higher than, I guess, forecast rate, but it was definitely lower. So again, it was kind of a mix. And again, quarter over quarter tends not to be as good as the month over month number, and that's 9:30 tonight. We'll show that. As far as oil goes, really, oil was a big mover yesterday. We went straight up. U.S. traders stepped in. We came straight back down to the exact same area. And then since that time, we've really just consolidated back in. And really, it's been more sideways movement. It stayed between 67.80 and 68.43. So it's a decent range, and we've had, a decent move up, and now it's starting to pull back down again. Remember, and again, this is why I can continue to box these off. When we have little tiny days, we tend to have, when we have a very small session, we tend to have big movers after that. When it's big in European session, we tend to follow. But again, little big, little big, little big, little big. Again, these were even, little big, for the most part, little big, and then even. So right now, and again, big. Right now, we're in the little stage, and the question is, will we get that big mover today? With oil inventories coming in tomorrow, we mentioned that this is where the oil inventory report will be, is tomorrow. And we mentioned if price is able to get up to that level, let me actually get this in the right spot. If price is able to get up in that level at 69.60, I think that is an opportunity for us to get short. The question is whether or not we can make it today. You look at the last couple of months, the day before oil actually has provided some decent movement. The question is, though, can we take over in the next really I don't know, what, 25 hours, 26 hours? Can we move $1.40 in one direction with no bit of pullback? And that's kind of the big question. We do have sellers that are stepping in right here around the 68.90ish range, 68.70 to 68.90. So it's got a lot of room to run until we can actually hit that level for news. The problem is going to be is what happens if we just go sideways? What happens if we base? Again, a lot of the down draw yesterday was the OPEC news talking about how they're going to go forward with the cuts. And again, we all know that it's coming. But again, we don't really necessarily have all the data from the Memorial Day weekend yet. So, it's an interesting story. I would expect more movement than what we had so far in the overnight. All we've seen is we've seen about 60 cents worth of movement. Remember, the daily ATR now is about $1.40-ish. So we have plenty of room to run today. The big question is, are we able to burst through this top? And if we can, I would say there's probably longs at the 68.90 range in the overnight to see if we can get up to that 69.70. Or I'm sorry, 69.60. The reason why is right now, let's see if they have the the new forecasted numbers up. They're expected to be down a little bit. Again, remember, we don't get this is not right often. We just had one that was right before. So again, we are expecting a miss with a forecast of minus one. That's not really that big, and you can see something as small as a 1.7 can really kind of jack this number around. So it's been positive. I think that's one thing we got to focus on. But as far as today goes, I would kind of see if, again, I would look for the 10:30 reversal time. I think that gives us the ideal opportunity, particularly if we're able to kind of rally up a bit into this level at 68.77, 68.80-ish range. That could be a potential push down, and I'm hoping that we just don't go sideways. It's going to kind of make the analysis for tomorrow morning a little bit more tricky, but we'll do with what we have. But again, because it's small, I would expect that we have the potential for a little big scenario today.
So, I mean, again, just looking at potential hot spots, get your eyes. You know what? Today might be the day where you start setting your charts up for oil. Start putting on some of your levels. Maybe put on some of those levels for knockouts or for call spreads. Knockouts actually is probably better because call spreads will reset. But put your knockout levels in there and keep an eye on it. I just put out in the chat when the API report, which is an industry association report, that doesn't even come out until 4:30 later today. More importantly, that EIA number, that's the oil inventory reports from the government, that is going to be 11 a.m. tomorrow. It's the holiday week, and so we're off a little bit. Take a look at the charts and set yourself up so that you're ready for it tomorrow. Again, Brian and I'll probably be going through that tomorrow morning.
One thing too, just we talk about the little big, just we talk about what's possible. And again, if you're not using ATR, I've done a couple webinars on it. Go check it out. Here is the last big little we saw on the 21st. It was not an inventory report. It was just a Friday. But you can see all I did here was I took basically the start of the U.S. session till the end of the oil session, right? Now, if we move that across to where price currently is, you can see that it puts us right up into that range. So is it possible? Absolutely. Is it probable? We'll have to see after the open today. So next we're going to go into gold. I think gold's important.
Yeah, because gold is, it's actually starting to retrace a little bit, but gold, it was spiking in the last hour or so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so here's where we were yesterday, right? We saw this really just kind of come and collapse, right? We were up at that 1910 range, and we said, listen, it looks like it's going to be negative for the day. It's trying to pull back, but the analysis was a little bit harder because you had so many wicks that were in here, right? It's more wick than body. Excuse me. We had a complete collapse at 10 o'clock, the 10:30 reversal time. We ended up hitting right into that zone, and that was a reversal for the day. And since that time, all it's done is came back down, and again, you can see that it's mostly wick in this area. Is it a level that you necessarily want to go long off of? Not really. I mean, the European session open was right here. Is it in a great level? Not really. I mean, buyers that stepped in, you could have taken something and, again, play the 730. But right now, I think the thinking is very similar to what we're seeing inside of oil. We're floating right around this 1900 mark. That's that dotted line right in the middle, and you can see it kind of just flirted back and forth with it. But this is absolutely no momentum whatsoever. So although we've had a nice push up again, there are some sellers coming up and above around that 1910 range again. I would probably come down and kind of see it hit here. And again, just like we have our 1030 reversal right here, I'll just copy it this way. I would be looking at the same kind of scenario and saying, okay, listen, here's the 1030 time frame right here. right? I'll drop this down to a 15-minute. There's our 10:30 time right there. So actually, I got to move this over. Question is, if we're able to pull up just a little bit, could that be the reversal for the morning, or has the turn already started? And will we come back down again and push it into this kind of middle of the range? I would say this is a strong area of buyers, and this was obviously a strong area of sellers up top. If we were going to run kind of that intraday kind of curve for no man's land, I would have to say we're kind of putting it right here. And again, strong sells up top. We're kind of in the no man's land here on the lower time frames. And again, this is a 15-minute chart. The larger time frame is obviously up here. But again, I think today, with lack of any real news, there's not going to be any true talks of inflation. Tomorrow, I think, is a better day with Powell speaking, although it's not necessarily an economic speech. It's a climate change speech. So, we'll see if inflation and where it goes from there. But I would say today, gold looks like it really wants to set up for more of a negative than a positive, and retrace this big early morning movement.
Yeah, I'm not even sure. I mean, right? There's just no impetus for it, but it pushed higher.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be right. I wouldn't be surprised to see it simply just retrace, come back down to levels from earlier today, because there was nothing. All of a sudden, it just pushed higher, and it happens, right? Like thin markets, quiet markets. You can see some volatility. All right, let's go quickly then into a trade setup for this evening with Australia. They've got retail sales. They got their balance of trade numbers, but it's more important the retail sales at 9:30 p.m. Eastern.
Yep.
You might want to, before you go to sleep tonight, you can take a look and take a peek. Maybe there's an opportunity
here's
when that
one
number comes out.
And here's a setup. And again, we talked about yesterday, we were sitting back in, let me go back up to 30 minutes. I was like, wait, why is this so far back? We were sitting over here and we mentioned 2 levels. And I said, listen, we need to be up in one of those levels before the news actually comes out. We ended up driving up right beforehand up into the level over here at 85.09 and 85.19. And you can see either of these 2 levels was fine. Again, the more aggressive traders would have taken the first one. The more kind of, I guess, passive traders would have taken the 85.19 level. But that's where news came in. You can see we have news coming in yet again over here later on today. So this has been a big push down. Whenever you have a big push down, and again, it's about 35 pips. It went into a big chunky area of buyers over here. So if we do rally back up again, I would say it's a kind of a similar situation. If we're able to drive up today, get that kind of Aussie strength in, yen weakness out of there. If we are able to rally up, those are still 2 viable levels to be able to take shorts. And remember, you can trade the Aussie yen over at Nadex. Of the 2, I think the Aussie yen gives us a better opportunity than the Aussie dollar. But again, we got to see where we are. Maybe today I am completely wrong and we push down. And again, that's where we look for lows. And again, we go down to a 30-minute and start looking for some of these other potential levels. I mean, there's obviously a big one in there. And again, this shouldn't be red. This would be more of a green. That's a level we could potentially take something off of. And there's also probably another small one kind of sitting in this level here. So, I'll put some numbers on there just so you have them for later today. But these are nighttime levels. These aren't, if we hit this at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's a no-go. These are purely for news tonight. And I would say, again, 85.09, 85.19 up top. Those could be viable levels, 84.64 and 84.51. Remember, it's very hard to look at the Nadex charts now, or the Nadex contracts, because at 5 o'clock they close, they reset contracts, and the strike prices are a little bit different. So it's one of those things you have to check later in the day, but I think either of these are viable opportunities for a news trade because, again, retail sales is one of the big 3 as far as market movers.
Well, we do have the 11 p.m. binaries, right? So, these. I mean, there are going to be the binary. These are already there, right? I just wanted to draw. I'm just giving you the Nadex charts right now, right? Brian's talking about for knockouts or call spreads, but the binary options these don't expire for 14 hours. So this would be right around 30 minutes before the contract expires. So this is where you would potentially see some volatility, something to keep an eye on, something to take a look at.
And again, you can also use, there's the 11 p.m., there's also the 3 a.m., and that would basically give you an Asian session trade because those are not going to change as well. If you purely want to play the Australian play, but then get out before the European traders step in, you would use the 3 a.m. You could also use the 7 a.m. if you wanted the European trader to also jump in there. Again, that one has already been reprinted. So there's different options depending on what type of trade. And again, there's not a lot of news. A lot of it comes in tomorrow. So it's like the big question is, do we look for the European help or do we not look for the European help in any of these trade setups? So a number of different options out there that you can take.
All right. Brian, is there anything else you wanted to talk about before we call it a morning here?
No, that's it for today.
All
Like I
right.
said, no news. Tomorrow's a much bigger day.
All right. Where there we go. With that, any questions for Nadex, please email us, customerservice@nadex.com. Whether it's about our contracts, about our markets, about your account, whatever it is. If you're having challenges, please let us know. We can't help you if we don't know. Email us. Brian is also available if you'd like to email Brian. You can ask him questions. support@keeptradingsimple.com. With that, I think we're going to call it a day. What did we cover today? We took a peek at oil. We know we got some oil inventory reports. Took a peek at some technical levels in gold as it's spiking up in the last hour and a half, and then some ideas, some setups, not only for oil for tomorrow because we got the big oil inventory report tomorrow morning, but also this evening for Australia. Taking a look at maybe that Aussie yen tonight as they come out with their retail sales. With that, want to wish everyone good luck in the markets. We will catch you all tomorrow. Thanks, everyone.